Alright folks, so this video is going to trigger some people. I'm going to explain to you guys why men call women chicks. Well, think of it like this. What do chicks want? What do chicks look for? Chicks, they look for a nest. Chicks, they look to be taken care of. The vast majority of women, they do not want to be free from men. The vast majority of women, they want a high-value man to take care of them. And how will the high-value man take care of these women? Well, he's gonna provide these chicks with a nest. That is the home. That is the house. That is the building block of every single nuclear family. A man has got to be able to put a roof over the top of his family. So I'm going to use the history of the Chinese dowry as an example. So throughout Chinese history, the really poor Chinese peasants, heck, even the middle class, they never ever got to marry or procreate. Only a very small percentage of high-value, rich, and powerful men gets to pick and choose all the women. So when you look at it from this point of view, so marriage and relationships throughout history has always been somewhat transactional. However, here's the deal you get back in the day. Back in the day, if you can come up with enough money to pay the dowry, what do you get in return? Well, you get an 18-year-old virgin that is going to have lots of kids with you. That woman's going to take care of you, and that woman's going to take care of your children. She's going to cook, she's going to clean, she's going to make love to you, and she's never ever going to talk back to you. Well, if you think I'm exaggerating, no, that's actually what happened back in the day. And many of these young women, they were trained from a very young age on in order to prepare these women for marriage. Especially if she's chosen to marry into the royal palace. There are so many strict rules that these consorts have to follow. For example, when they're eating, they cannot show their mouth. They have to eat like this. It is because back in ancient China, this is viewed as extremely disrespectful for a woman to be showing her mouth while she's eating. Same thing while she's sipping tea. She must always cover her mouth. It is trained that she must never ever talk back to her man. All of these were mandatory etiquettes. And she also must never ever reject her husband for sex. No, I had many discussions like this with my grandma and with my grandma's sister and many from the older generation. Listen, for this generation of men, we're having the least amount of sex throughout history because way back in the day, women weren't allowed to reject men for sex. And I've talked to many older Chinese ladies about this topic. I asked them, how come you guys all had so many kids way back in the day? We're talking about 5, 6, 7, 8 children. And the answer was simple. They told me way back in the day, there was no internet, there was no television, there was no social media. Heck, very few people even had a radio. You had no Facebook, no Instagram, no Snapchat, no TikTok. So when you got back home from work, there was nothing to do. So basically, you just end up engaging in coitus all night. And some of these older Chinese women, they told me back in the day, they used to do it 4, 5, 6, even 7 times a night. And we're looking at 6 to 7 days a week, almost no days off. Listen, I don't care what you say. Our grandfathers, they had it way easier than us. Now think about how many marriages are sexless now. I think according to most surveys, they're saying that it's 25% of marriages that are sexless, right? Ladies, you're saying that, oh, you may always make the great decisions. You always say that, oh, you always pick the perfect man. You always gotta trust the woman's intuition. If your intuition is so good, how come you're always choosing the wrong man? Because in many of these breakups, in many of these toxic relationships, in many of these divorces, women are always saying that their man's terrible. Why would you choose that man? And if you're so unhappy all the time, if your intuition is so good, so ladies, how come you can't tell when your man is unhappy? No, I'm serious. In how many marriages now do you think a man is able to even have sex 3 times a week? I honestly think that 80 to 90% of the people who pay for OnlyFans are married men because their wife is constantly rejecting them in bed. What the hell has happened to modern women? So your man has met all of your requirements. He's tall enough, he's good looking, he's in shape, he makes a lot of money, he has a house, he has a car, he spent 3 months of his salary on your wedding ring, he paid for your wedding, he paid for your honeymoon. You know, but when it comes to the bedroom, you refuse to make love with your man. Why is that? And let's bring this back to modern dating. I brought up this topic. The list of requirements for these modern Chinese women are so insane that they all end up matching with a very small percentage of Chinese men. That's why there are so many leftover Chinese women. Well, here's the thing, to be honest and truthful. Many of these women, they will cross off every single other requirement. The guy doesn't have to be handsome or good looking. The guy doesn't have to be in shape. The guy doesn't have to make 100,000. The guy doesn't have to have a BMW, right? But here's one requirement. These women will never ever cross off from their list of requirements. This requirement is always going to be number one on their list. And that requirement is that this man must have a house. And in China, for most cases, it's a condo. So what they're looking for is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, 100 square meter, or 1,076 square feet, 3-bedroom condo. A young Chinese man has this, then he is able to get married. So if you don't believe me, let's say if you live in Canada or the United States, and if you're walking down the street, let's say in New York or San Francisco or in Vancouver, in Toronto, where there's a large percentage of Chinese population, if you see just a normal looking Chinese dude, the guy could even be short and ugly, right? He might not be in great shape. Maybe he doesn't even make a lot of money. But if you see this guy with an attractive, above average looking Chinese girl, I can guarantee you this. There's a 99% chance that this Chinese guy, he has a house. Because this will always be the number one requirement for Chinese women. They will cross off every single other requirement as long as this guy has a house. You don't have to own the house completely outright, as long as you can come up with enough money for the down payment. But your Chinese girl, she's not going to contribute with paying for the mortgage. You have to take care of the mortgage all by yourself. But as long as you own a home, you will be able to find a Chinese wife. It's almost like it's biological. This is why so many men refer to women as chicks, because they only look for a successful, high-value man that has that home, that has a nest where these chicks can go to, where these chicks can be taken care of. Because no woman in this world, despite what you say about the equality, about feminism, about the patriarchy, because all of the wealth had to belong to the man. Have you guys ever seen a woman make a broke-ass guy rich? Because I have never, ever seen that in my entire life. However, I have certainly seen plenty of women make rich men completely broke. Marriage and relationships, it's a financial transaction from the man to the woman. And if these young men don't have the ability to get high-paying jobs, that means that they won't be able to purchase homes. And if they cannot purchase homes, that means that there's going to be less family formation, there's going to be less relationships, and you have a population collapse, and you have the breakdown of the nuclear family. And that is exactly what's happening to our society in the 21st century. No society throughout history has ever existed without the presence of young, strong, powerful men. I want to conclude the video with this topic. This is a follow-up from my last Friday's video. I talk about the issue of Canada with a massive immigration. Well, massive illegal immigration. We got millions and millions of these young Indian men. Most of these young Indian men are either Sikhs or Punjabi, and they're flooding into Canada using a backdoor immigration program, which is the International Students Program. It's 100% fake, and just last year, Canada welcomed 579,000 international students, and 80 to 90% of these are Indian. By 2027, Canada is expected to accept 1.4 million international students into the country, and the vast majority of these will be Indians as well. Have you guys noticed something? I would say 70 to 80% of these Indian international students are all men. India has a massive gender imbalance issue. There are roughly 70 million more Indian men versus Indian women. This is because the Indians, they keep killing these young baby Indian girls in the womb. It's estimated between the ages of 20 to 40, there's roughly 30% excess men in India. So right now with Canada and the Trudeau and the Liberal government, what they're doing is that they're importing all of these excess Indian men into the country. And I mentioned before, immigration can work. The country can benefit from it, but not this level of immigration, not 1.3 million people a year. This new generation of Indians that's coming to Canada, none of them are doctors, none of them are engineers, none of them are lawyers, none of them are nurses. Yes, Canada does have a labor shortage. However, we need skilled labor. We need more electricians. We need more carpenters. We need more plumbers. We need more people who can build millions and millions of new homes across Canada. Yes, the healthcare system is under immense strain right now, so we need more doctors, we need more healthcare professionals, we need more nurses, we need more emergency responders. However, look at the new batch of Indians who are coming to Canada. They're all either working at Tim Hortons, they're becoming Uber drivers, they're working at McDonald's, they're working at 7-Eleven, they're working at KFC, they're working at Subway, they're working at Taco Bell, they're working at Harvey's, they're working at Popeyes, they're working at Wendy's, they're becoming security guard at local malls. All of these jobs pay minimum wage. Right now in Ontario, the minimum hourly wage is $16.55 Canadian per hour. That is $33,000 Canadian per year, or roughly $24,000 US. I'm sorry to all the Sikhs and the Punjabis out there. If you're making $33,000 Canadian a year, and for that kind of money, you can't even save up enough money to go to the strip club. That's why so many of these Indian guys, they're sharing mattresses, or sharing sofas, or sleeping in the storage room, or sleeping in closets. Canada does not need another 1 million Uber driver. Canada does not need another 2 million people to work at McDonald's. Canada does not need another 3 million Indian people to work at 7-Eleven. And due to this recent massive influx of immigration, mostly from India, the number of people making minimum wage in Canada between the years of 2000 to 2024 has jumped by more than 10-folds. Yes, the new batch of immigrants are all coming in to work the bottom of the barrel jobs in our society. And guess what? No woman is going to date a man that's making $33,000 a year. So all of these Indian men who are coming to Canada, they're all going to be 100% involuntarily celibate. They're all going to be sexless, and they won't even have enough money to pay for a stripper or pay for a prostitute. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Remember, the number of people making minimum wage in Canada from 2000 to 2024 has jumped by more than 10-folds. So you're creating a society where you're importing millions of these young excess men who are already not getting any action in India. So what does Trudeau say? Why don't we just bring these people all the way over to Canada? So Canada is going to have this massive crisis where millions of youths in this country are working at minimum wage jobs and they're living below the poverty line. All of these young men are going to be broke. All of these young men are going to be incels. Yeah, just wait until you see what happens to Canada 10 years from now. I can guarantee you this. The Greater Toronto area is going to become capital of the world, because that is exactly what's going to happen. Because these young men will have absolute zero option. The only way for them to get any kind of sex is to other women. It's so cold outside. I'm alone.